Well, it's 6:30 hour here, folks. I'm glad to see everybody out tonight on this beautiful fall day. Enjoy it while we can. We're gonna get ahead. We got a lot of stuff going on here, so call the meeting to order and review and approve minutes of September 16th, 2021.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of September 16th, 2021.
I'll second that. Any discussion? That sounds like me. I said, look at the date and make sure I get the right date.
The copy that I had Zach Conaway here, and he was not here.
That's what I got. Didn't he come in late?
I think, yeah, he did come in.
He came in late.
He came in late.
Yeah, he was like
Okay.
halfway through the meeting or something,
Yeah,
or
he did.
quarter of the way through, something like that.
And then on the top of page 4, it says Tim had updated the lights, just his kind of last name. So we know who it is.
That's on page 4.
Ask Carol. She said it to me.
Who's the electrician?
Tim Corey, from
Corey.
Corey Electric.
Okay.
You didn't like it. You didn't like it? Everybody has it on their
She didn't say his last name.
Well, maybe it needs to be on there. Any other discussion? Okay, gentlemen. Any other discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor of the minutes of September 16th, 2021, printed and with corrections, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay, minutes are approved. Adjustments to the agenda, so anything,
The only one I have is the PO policy raising from 500 to 1,000. You know, that's not, should be under mine, because
well, we just stuck it in just for sake of, I didn't know
Okay.
where else to put it.
all right.
I knew it had to do with something with you know, with money, so that's why I kind of focused at that. So.
But it's fire department asking for this?
Fast, fire,
highway.
well, highway too. I mean, it's, the complaints are justifiable, I mean, what I'm getting, so, I mean.
But if you're gonna do that, it should be across the board.
Yes, but the thing is we are feeling them on this end, so, and if we are, everybody else is, so, and that's the reason behind it, so. Anyways, back to, back to business here. Anything that's staring you in the face there, Aaron?
Nope,
Any change?
nothing
Sounds
is
good.
jumping right out at me here.
I think the HC guy should be last.
I know he can sit through a select board meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ours go like 3 hours.
There you go,
Sometimes I.
yeah. Yeah, and he gets paid.
Right. Yeah.
I'm just gonna throw that in, yeah, so. All right, so, matter of fact, Nate, you're up, so.
All right. Yeah, we're trying to sell our electric department, so we've had 2 attorneys come to every one of our meetings for the past 4 months.
They can drone on.
Yes, they can,
Yeah, scary.
yeah.
Okay, so
There's an extra copy back there if you want, if anyone wants to look at it.
when I was here,
Table.
when you guys were digging across the street, you know, kind of talked to Lisa again, walked around, and just said, all right, let's put something together that folks can understand and you know, where I think this should go, you know, my best shot at it. So, you know, obviously, are both you guys in the fire department?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously,
So much for being there.
you know, you guys are a big piece of how this all works. This area here was really to try to level this parking lot up, because we have our handicap space, it has to be 2% max, and especially you have to have a van accessible space, and then next to the van has to be 2%. There's some unloaded in next to that. So you've got, 15 feet needs to be 2%. And then, just looking at the blocks out back, I counted all the blocks. We tried to figure out, could we repurpose the blocks on site, because everything was still in money. And I first counted the blocks are all just sitting here, and then I see, let's count all these. As I looked at this more, the water leaks through the wall, and just the way it kind of sits out from the hill, and honestly, I think what I would do is just you put like heavy rock along the toe of the slope, and then just build some lighter rock up in it, and just see it get it to grow grass. And by actually removing that wall, it'll give you the width to have traffic flow come in, and then cars park this way and cars park that way. So I think my recommendation would be just, I don't know what kind of heartburn that would be, folks, but
It's not your heartburn.
just, so I think that would be the appropriate thing to do, and then try to repurpose the blocks. So you can use most of them. The way it was designed, though, they have, most of our blocks are like a little hump on the top of them, and then they've got these top blocks that go on. So they had a lot taller wall, so they need a lot fewer top blocks. So we couldn't quite, we would still need some more top blocks, basically, to cover over. And like I showed putting these in here, but like, you wouldn't have any top blocks, so that would be, you have to get a top block, or you have to just,
Look at those nubs.
yeah. So, but I try to look at it and say, so when we build a wall, we don't go any higher than 30 inches before we have a story on or something. So I try to, look at that as you can put these in, burying. Those are 18-inch blocks, but so you can put too high and then bury part of them, go over 30. Here, I'd actually have a guardrail for the cars. And then, because you got the guardrail, it's not really a spot where, I think you could get away with just a guardrail. You might have to put a railing across the top if it's over 30 range. So, but what I tried to look at was, so it's 34 feet wide, the max is 90 when you get your pavement, and that's like a kind of typical beach trail, like 30-foot access to the radiuses that they want. So those radiuses come right off of their
Off their templates.
their templates, yeah. And then I have a program where I can drive vehicles, so I didn't do that by hand. The computer did it. I've done it by hand in the past. So, we're pretty lucky to have that. So that's a 40-foot U1 fire truck showing the turning radius, checking out. And then the other pieces that I don't know, that obviously you guys would know better, is how you come in. You're down the road and you just back up the hill. And I just don't know the answers to all that stuff.
Usually we pull into the parking lot to get off the main highway.
Yeah.
So we don't have
swing in and back up on the station like that.
So, the one advantage I think is that if you actually were able to move forward with putting the gym parking up here, you guys are gonna have much easier time with traffic. And then I was just thinking, I put EMS here on the side, over on the side here, just saying that was reserved for course, handicap accessible for upstairs. Just another short wall, kind of right by the telephone poles. And then these lines here, so there's like a center line of the road, and those are 12-foot lanes. So that's, highways, typically you'll see 10 to 12 feet. So I think, there's 12 feet there. I think everybody can traverse that. Fine. So like the retaining walls out front, that would be, there's a dashed line that's 24, 3/4 feet, 7 of the road. So that keeps your retaining wall out of the nutrients highway. So that's the nutrients limit. They'll just, as you try to redevelop or expand anything up here, partially with the drainage, I mean, the drainage work will trigger a permit from them, which then triggers their ability to control their access. And it sounded like maybe in the past they tried to do that and then shut down. But, I would just promote having a wall so you can lift that parking up and you can actually have legal ADA accessible parking. So I did put on that, I think the number of existing parking spaces and then the total.
Yeah, 18 here, 7 here. I mean, it looks like these are probably spaces here too, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was really the access and parking idea, what I thought you could do. I did put some notes in there about volume of material that I thought you could dig out of this hillside.
Yeah.
And then it's just, it'd be up to you how far you want to go. But I laid back and actually had plenty of place for snow. We don't get as much as we used to. And I don't know if there's a little high drive or part of that wall is, there's bars back there on the neighbors. I personally would remove that because, like I said, anything over 30 inches, you need a railing. So, kids could play on it and fall off of it, and it's just another liability you have to deal with.
What was this you talking about?
So over on the other side, over here, there's an old stone foundation.
Yeah. You need to get rid of that as a liability.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's just wait for first time.
So that was kind of the overall parking scheme. And then the second part of this was drainage. So we were trying to find really what we would do on Mill Street. There's two, kind of the overall one's on the right, on the left, my right and left. So you can see what we would do on Mill Street. So starting from the river, you'd have a culvert onto the neighbor's property. You'd have to get an easement for them. And then riprap the edge of the road, a couple hundred feet. And then where the pipe actually would discharge, so this is where the pipe would come down and stop here. You just have a pipe stop here. You just have a little, you just call it like a sediment forebay. So anything that was coming off the town parking lots or whatever, you have time to settle out, and then you could clean it out before it fill up your stone ditch or head into the river. And that pushes out beyond. Well, I don't know what the road right away is. So I did talk to a surveyor in St. Jay. He's retired, but he picks little projects, and he said, he wanted me to do the research. So he really wanted.
Hence the reason you call it.
Exactly. Well, and he's retired, so
Yeah.
he took it on and off. And, well, if I could do something, it'd be this winter. So, actually the plan from when the well was drilled, they talked about a survey of True Line it from the town office.
Mhm.
This guy used to work at True Line. So, just figuring out, you know, is that a 2-rod road, 3-rod road? If it's a 2-rod, which would make sense, but it doesn't make sense to be a 3-rod, but if there's no documentation, I think the statute is that it reverts to a 3-rod. But you have,
You know that what it is, Harold? No.
you have to, we have the same problem I was. Yeah, it's hard to, you gotta go back a ways sometimes, and because attorneys don't put everything in the deed.
Yeah.
They say that the last deed, and all of a sudden they go back 100 years, try to figure it out.
Figure out what it is.
So, you know, if it's a 2-rod road, you know, put in that little 4 main, you're gonna need to get an easement from the neighbor. Yeah, and then basically bring it up onto the property, kind of have some structures to keep it from going out into the road. And then basically it's getting the pipe back up to behind the building. And the only piece that I don't, well, so there's a couple things. I've got an under drain that would fall on the top of that hill, go back right in here. That's kind of an under drain. Catch, we'll try to catch anything that's going forward there. And then there'd just be some small, a little 2-foot square catch basins in the middle of the parking lot, so we'll drain everything to that. Try to keep it, you know, you pitch it, so the parking is towards the building, pitch it back. So, you know, water's coming back towards those catch basins and not towards the building.
Would you pitch that whole, I mean, with this proposal, would you pitch that whole parking lot on both sides
Yeah,
into the?
exactly. Pitch it in the middle.
Gotcha.
The piece that I'm not sure about right now is the well driller's report said when they drilled that well, it was 2 feet to ledge. So where does the ledge fall off, you know, before it gets to the building? This drain will be shallow. Doesn't need to be, this under drain can be shallow, so I don't see either of those a problem. But if we're gonna try to do an under drain to catch on the backside of this building, that's gotta be, you know, down low. So I just don't have a comfort level on what we might run into. This is built on a frost wall, I guess. So, we would need to dig again to figure out, unless someone, whoever put the water line in, or someone around knew what they got into when they put that water line in.
I don't remember them having a drill and blast to run a water line to that.
Well, normally they'll, I mean, if it's real shallow, I mean, they might, will insulate the hell out of it.
I wouldn't want to run a line through a parking lot, 2 feet.
Yeah, I mean,
Especially for a municipal building.
yeah.
I don't.
Well, you can do it. I mean, we do bridge crossings with water lines.
Yes, yeah, it's bridge crossing, not a service fee to it.
Yeah, you just add insulation.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that works well too is spray foam.
Yeah.
Having the spray foam guys come in and just go spray foam the whole finish. Just so you'll have 6 inches of insulation. So that'll probably be the end all of what needs to be dealt with. So this is basically, kind of we had originally just, Lisa was putting together the estimate for
Lady, right?
Leahy.
Yeah.
So we kind of did like a really high elevation estimate for that. And then this is a more this is like a preliminary plan.
Yeah.
So like the next steps would be to actually draft like the elevations on all these things. And then we run a profile and spit out what it looks like so the guys can understand what they're trying to build and things they might run into. So really don't need to design the wall. It's a short wall. The blocks are a very standard ready rock wall. At that height, we have to design it. There's a typical, we'll tell them what elevation to set the first block at. So we would basically take this and then, we'd start putting elevations and everything, put a profile sheet together, a detail sheet, and then some type of probably simple spec on it for the guys to know, a little more for the gravel, stone and everything. And then we'd have to, we put an estimate together, what we think it's gonna cost. And then if we had money, then we could have it. But I think this one, before any of that happened, we wanna dig here, and just find out where the rock is, or if maybe it just falls off. Maybe the water was what you want. With those blocks that are back there, I think that would be, like you can dig a hole here, but it'd be nice to dig a hole here, to just put some of those blocks in the way. Those would have to be moved somewhere.
Well, it sounds like we're gonna have to, first things first, we're gonna have to get this the closer to the building, drainage sorted no matter what, which means we're gonna have to move everything over towards the bank. I'm assuming to do that work as we're trying to figure it all out.
Yeah, I would try to, I don't know if there's any other place you could put them.
We can put them down by the town garage.
Just what I want to plow around on.
We put them in the town garage.
So I can keep talking and make Harold probably happier the more I talk, but,
I already voiced my opinion.
yeah. I missed it, yeah.
So what kind of, I'll throw this question out, what kind of, as using the town equipment to do prep work to make it easier for the construction, what kind of prep work would you entail for that, all that?
I mean, seems like you guys could do he's gonna club me later.
Meet you outside.
I mean, if you guys have a triaxle and an excavator, I mean, I don't know, you'd have to find a place to bring it. Let's say it's, 3,000 yards, you can hold 15 in a truck. You can kind of quickly add up the number of hours you can just start opening that up.
Some of that, I think is gonna have to backfill some of the other wall work potentially, right? But
from what I've seen back there, I wouldn't use that material. Yeah.
well, I'm just thinking the other thing is, do we talk to somebody like Chief or Ferguson and see if they want that material, could use that material? Is it worth crushing up? Having somebody assess it, because then you can sell that material potentially too, and say, well, we got to clear out 2,900 cubic yards of stuff. Is it usable? Would you take it?
Right, you might as well
And they could buy it at cost, and come in and pay for it either way. And then Harold's not beating with the club in the parking lot.
And then I think, it's just a matter of, you start like, I don't think you're gonna touch this back wall, backside of Harold. I think you, if anything, you're just gonna kind of come back this way and make yourself some more space. Because some of this back wall, actually, if you look at, there's some dash contours underneath, which is the existing contour. So some of this is actually packing some material back into that hill, through the way it kind of is shaped now.
Well, I mean, looking at it, it's definitely something that, no matter what, we're gonna have to put topsoil down on that and root it with grass seed and whatever to try to prevent, further, because you can tell it was eroded. I mean, they dug out some stuff too, but it's pretty well eroded back there, so it's gonna require.
Yeah, so that's why we toe in the bottom with rock,
Yeah.
like heavy rock, lighter rock, and then you get a little higher up and you can go back to grass. But I think that, you don't really want to do that. You want to do that about the same time someone's putting in that undergrade, I think. So probably whoever that contractor was. And it'd be nice, it really would be nice to build all this first. So if you start to get into any water in here, you've already got your drains built, and you're not making anybody mad.
But I was just thinking, with the proposed wall, you'd have to put these drains in before you built the wall anyway, just because you're gonna need to have an alternate route to the fire department while you're doing that.
Yeah.
So, to get all of that done, and even if we just, pave the parks and got some of this done in the front before we even got to the back, it makes sense.
But yeah, like the blocks, the unfortunate thing is the blocks having to be removed off the site, even if you want to repurpose them. So, maybe that's a project. I don't know.
Well, and I guess one of my things, we've got the community garden over here in the green space, but if we're doing this construction, then we're not hauling them all over the place. We can get them moved from where they are back here. Just, stack them neatly in the green space for the time being, and that's an area to build with.
The only concern there is that it's wet right now, in that spot, and
Yeah.
I think they're stacked maybe more higher right now, which you will do.
Yeah.
Unless you came in and cut all this out here, and then you lay down the gravel pad, and then set those blocks on the pad, and then dedicate them off so people want to plug around and something like that. I think that would be a possibility. If you came in bricked out like that old high drive or backside of the barn, whatever that was. Yeah, you'd like to look at that. Just to help save on all the trucking and all. But again, it might be, actually, when I think about it more, if you haul them off site, when someone comes back to actually build that wall, they can just load them up, because otherwise you're gonna walk them.
Yeah, blow them right off the trailer. Instead of
just pull off trailer inside them.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Instead of walking them a couple 100 feet.
How can they be moved? How do you move them?
They just have steel hooks on top of them, so they just take the chain. And then hook them.
Drag them?
I'll just pick them up the next excavator or backhoe or something, we'll take them up, right?
My excavator don't look.
Yeah.
It won't.
Take the bucket off.
That still wouldn't. I tried lifting them waste blocks.
Yeah.
It won't with that. Those are about
3x6 by 18s.
Yeah. Those are about the same
I
size.
can get you the weight on the 6 square foot ready rock. I'm sure you really want that.
Nate, I had one question. One of the things that we've talked about for years with the fire department is having a tank outside that we could fill tankers from that would have run up water in it. Has that been incorporated at all or thought about, or?
We tossed it around, basically just whatever we wanted to do and basically price, figure out what the price is and where to put it.
how big of a tank you talking though? I mean, that's the question. You're talking like a semi-truck tank, 2,500, no bigger than that. Yeah, I mean, what's that size? The 53 footer. Yeah, 10,000 gallons. I mean, if you're talking that big, it would be almost worth clearing out right behind the fire station, having that, just buying a trailer, like, use trailer like that, self-fed into it, get a pump and an electric pump, hook it up, do that. For an actual in-ground tank or something like that.
Yeah, we do water storage tanks, for drinking water. And, so of course, if it's not buried, we end up I want to say the last tank that I did for a campground, it was a 4,000 gallon tank. Theirs are draining they're not. It's mostly buried. But the ones that are house. Yeah, and the difference for you guys from drinking water is you wouldn't have circulation, you're not flowing where it's sort of stagnant. Even in cities, like, the big steel tanks, you see elevated steel tanks.
Yeah.
They, water's continuously moving in those tanks.
Keep it
And
from freezing.
they'll still have, on cold days, they'll still have ice that will form up top, and then it'll drop. Into the tanks. So, that's like most, a lot of what we do in Vermont, dairy tanks, I've done a number of dairy tanks, 1,000 gallon tanks. And top.
The Wells River sounded better and better all the time.
I haven't seen that.
But yeah, I mean, if you're looking for something where you're gonna
They're probably very pretty deep. Keep it from front if you're gonna try to keep it out of the cross line.
yeah, I think if the bottom of it was a little cross line and then you insulate the top of it, but you have to, most of us around here aren't experts in the thermodynamics of power, so we just insulate and, best practice. So I wouldn't guarantee that something, but I would imagine that, I've seen the hard thing that if you were the bottom of the tank, no cross lines, but again, I don't know what the life looks like back there.
No, I know, yeah.
But where do we fill the tankers now? Or where do we fill them?
Down the dry hydrant down the.
Down the river.
That's all.
Which is great in August.
Not so
Not so
great.
great, 2:30 in the, February, 2:30 in the morning.
And you get about 2 feet of ice.
You guys probably need, when you do that, you probably need,
3,500 gallons to fill both trucks.
but for that, you go through 20,000 gallons.
Oh, yeah, it depends, it depends on what it is.
Yeah.
Well, theoretically, you should be able to put it out with just what you got on it. But-
Theoretically, yes.
You're always waiting, right?
Yeah.
You're waiting.
No, but I mean, you get something big that, you refer to as a surrounded ground. I mean, you're not gonna put it out, so you just surround it and keep it from spreading somewhere else. So, and that would suck up. It looks good, Nick. Taking a shot at making something perfect, but you did a good job.
I think biggest part of it. On that wall up there. There's a lot of, as soon as we get it out there, there's a lot of.
I think that's one of the biggest things, but what I'm thinking is this is down by the road. It's more prominent than out back. So it's out where people will see it more. From this, I mean, it's obvious that we don't need a retaining wall out back.
Right.
it's, right now, it's not doing anything, and frankly, it's unsafe, it sounds like, because there's nothing behind it supporting it the way it should be. And so, I think, as much as I think there will be some people that may initially be upset, I think if it's explained to them appropriately that we're putting this to good use for the town, it's going to, this is gonna make the curb appeal of the town building even better, I think. Not to mention, we're gonna actually put in appropriate, ADA compliant parking. That's a big thing. And honestly, I think the other piece, and from the outside looking at the fire station, and based off of what happened this weekend, and it makes a heck of a lot more sense to get rid of this parking out here across the way anyway. And I think we tell people that, we're setting up better parking that's out of the way of the fire department, so we don't run into issues with blockages at the fire station. And I think it opens it up. I think too, we got a lot of parking back in the back.
Yeah.
There's potential for that to be, a Groton parking line. I know NEK Gravel has asked about parking for, connecting with the trails. We're doing all sorts of trail connection stuff. Being able to say I'm parked here and I can get right onto, the Cross Vermont Trail and I'm in town, or even, yeah.
One feature that I forgot to mention, that I was trying to think about with the fence out front, was the top blocks that they have. They're a double face block, so they're stamped on both sides. So I laid that out so the top block will actually sit above grade, and then those all those granite tops where people have donated can all lay right on top of those. So you'll have that really prominent feature. So there'll be a guardrail, so cars
Don't run.
well, when they do run into it, they'll hit the guardrail.
I can't believe that anyone would have a real problem with having them more prominent out front where they can actually be seen and enjoyed, as opposed to being out back in the swamp.
I would think it would be an issue.
My suggestion is to formally invite the people who have donated and their families to view the plans, to come to a meeting and show them the idea that is initially being thought of, so they won't feel this neglect or whatever.
That's why I said this is gonna be the first step, before we can get underway, is to get that taken care of and satisfy that
Yeah.
group. And once we get that done, then we can go on and say, okay, now we can go on, work on the next stage of the project, so.
Just be aware, you're not gonna satisfy everyone.
Oh, yeah, well, we know that.
Never do.
Yeah, never do. But,
I think the other thing too is we have a lot of really great things in Groton, and I think this is the type of infrastructure plan that's helped us to solidify this building especially. I know there's a lot of people that have talked about wanting to rebuild the building here, and I think I don't think people understand the cost impact that would be. And this is, I think, the right direction to go to solidify this building so that we don't have to rebuild. And it just makes sense. I think that's the big thing, is it just makes sense that people, we should talk to people about, how much this makes sense to the town of Groton, because it's gonna help us to, make our town look better, or the curb appeal of our town is going to start improving. And we already, with the project that, 15 years ago now, just about, that we did down for the library and that whole area that really made it, look at that, it looks great still. And we can do that for this building, and I think that's what I see with this plan for sure.
I even would suggest having a special town meeting to discuss the plans and
Well, we need to discuss the ARPA money.
in ARPA money, because that's, or Leahy money, however we can,
The
funding.
Just so we're working on a project with the Fairgrounds Museum, and they weren't using Leahy money, but they were using
Trump money.
uh,
Is his name was on the front, out front of the lawn, so it was Trump.
Who's the other guy?
Sanders?
No.
Welch?
Welch, yeah, so Welch was there, and so he had money from them. And so we just reapplied for another, Economic Development Administration. I don't know if you looked at any of their grants. It seemed like they're underused. We did one there last year for some solar panels and resiliency work, I guess. They were really easy to work with. But we applied for the EDA project money because they don't seem to be passing that proposed budget in Washington. So I just don't know if that's.
So, I mean, a question for you, maybe you know that, if we were to work with V-Trans to designate this back parking as parking right parking, do you think I don't know, in your experience, have you seen that there's funding available from the state to help cover some of those costs too?
Well, what I've seen, a few years ago, I did a parking lot at the hospital in St. Jay. We added maybe 60 spaces over by the emergency room. And I want to say we did that for like $180,000. And V-Trans did a parking ride down by the second interchange in St. Jay. And I want to say that was like $800,000 for about 60 spaces. So what I found is when you're doing a V-Trans job, you have to go through their program. So like an engineering firm like myself, I'm not qualified because I don't have 15 layers of people and whatever, and I don't want to be qualified to be honest. There's just so much bureaucracy in the whole process that it kind of, I think it has to be their project, at least the parking runs that I've seen, unless there's special grant money that they can give to towns. Like say the box culvert jobs for small bridges, but I don't know that that exists. And so a project for them usually is just like, we did a bridge up in Derby last year that used some other federal agency, and they said, well, we want you to follow the V-Trans program. Well, it added tons of costs, and it just, you have to go through their program. So I don't know if that would be available. I'm just not aware of it. But I think, timeline, you're kind of meeting with the community, figuring that out. We need to dig, at some point we need to dig out back. So it's not this fall, it needs to be next spring. If it's next spring, maybe next fall. I guess you have your community meeting at town meeting. And I just don't know with construction costs. There's still numbers kind of bizarre. It's just, if you keep working on this as a 2-year plan, we could get this to final design. If that's something we want, so it's shovel ready. And that seems to be, usually when government programs exist, when you have a project that's shovel ready, they just jump onto that.
So what do we need to do to get to that point? What are the next steps?
We need to move the blocks. We need to dig a couple test holes on the back side of the building to make sure that we're not, that there's not ledge in the way, or there's not something that's in the way that we don't know about. We need to find out the road width on Mill Street, the right of width. And the other option would be just to prepare the plan and you have to have a lawyer draft up an easement and just say we don't know what the right of way is. So we should do a little research to figure that out, and then basically do the final design of plans where we start having structure details and pipe lengths and slope pitches and everything, and how to connect everything. And then it would be basically you have something that would be bid ready when you want it to bid, whether you want to bid. I mean, it's nice to bid something in the winter, you know, you guys are back at the house or in their office. Like, try to bid something this time of year, usually the guys are trying to push the job. If they even have time to do it. So that's usually the best time that I've seen for numbers.
Would you say that we should maybe bid this out as a whole project, or should we, I mean, we've kind of talked about it as two parts, right? You've got the Mill Street part, and then you've got the rest of it, but is this something we should bid out as one giant project? That,
I think I would at this point.
okay.
Yeah. Because at minimum, you have to, say you just did Mill Street and then did the catch basins and highway right there, you still have to start your pipes up out, and then you'd be dealing with ripping up the asphalt, and it's the asphalt, and the guys with their machines, you know, every time you try to turn on the asphalt, you know, they're taking a risk that you guys don't, you know, come and scream at them because they just damaged something that was, you know, just salvageable anyway, so. Yeah, I don't know if you've saved anything. I think there's some still small, like, owner-operator companies that would be a good fit for this. I don't know if you've seen them. A lot of guys do like our box holder jobs. They're a good fit for a job like this.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's nothing wrong with us trying to move forward and make it shovel ready. I think, you know, there are some conversations to be had. We need to have a meeting with the town to talk about this plan, for sure. I don't really want to wait till town meeting day either, because that's a long way off from now. I mean, we're talking 5 months. You know, it's not going to take us 5 months to get this, you know, get this shovel ready. It makes sense for maybe us, you know, to start planning something at this point, probably the beginning of December, to talk to folks about what we're doing. And I don't know, that gives us a good couple of months here to at least get it sorted out enough to think about it.
And I think I revised the construction cost estimate.
Yeah, I gave it to them, yeah, they have all the prices.
And honestly, I mean, that's based on my experience.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, depending on time of year, who's available. I mean, I had jobs even, I remember a job I had 10 years ago where the low bidder was 600,000 and the high bidder was 1.2 million. You know, there's 6 or 7 bidders. So you're like, are you bidding for the same job?
Who was everybody else?
You know, somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
But, you know, it's like, or we had one for NVDA up at the industrial park. We were just clearing some land. We had 11 bidders, and the low was 34,000 and the high was 210,000. And the spread went all the way through. And so that's, you know, unfortunately, that's, I mean, we try not to be the low bidder when we do our estimate. But we also know that there's guys that are going to throw some real high numbers at it, and no one else is bidding. You know, sometimes they get these jobs.
Yeah.
So
These guys would make a living off of change orders too.
these guys are going to go to change orders.
And head it really low, and but you didn't tell me I needed EPC cement for this, maybe.
Sure, I know. So the other thing too, if Lisa's looking at other options for funding, sometimes there's certain federal agencies that will require you to like go to the community and say, you know, we want to get your approval to borrow $1 million. And although we expect grant money, but like those government agencies sometimes want to know that the community has approved the project, to do the project without the money, but really we wouldn't do it without the money. So it's a strange setup. You'll see that in what's going on in the newspaper, where have a bond vote. And really, it'll be for the total cost of the project, but at the end of the day, they'll say, well, no, it's total cost, but we're expecting this and this and this and this. And then, you know, it comes down to how much you remember if you have to go to a bond vote. In my opinion, if you're not getting grant money, if that doesn't come through, if they can't pass the budget, then I would probably be smart. I mean, at least me, I try to borrow money and spread it out over a million years. So I don't know how much you have saved up, destroy everything you have.
So how much do we have left in the 40,000?
Well, no, the septic is taking it all.
But the ARPA, I mean, is a majority of it.
Is what we're thinking.
And when is that funding supposed to come through?
We already have half of
We've
it,
gotten half of it, so.
and next summer we'll have the other.
We got the county money too.
Yeah, got that too.
And how much do we have?
So it'll be a total of 289,000 by the end of next year.
So, I mean, what we're talking, if we go directly off this number, 303,000,
Plus the 77, right? Isn't there two?
where's
Subtotal.
the,
Yeah.
is it combined? Or is it?
Yeah, so phase one, phase two.
I think it's phase 1 is 77,
Yeah.
phase 2 is 303. So we got 390, we'll have almost 290 in ARPA. I might not have your, if you had adjusted one, more than what you gave me.
What?
Is the same one?
I think so.
Oh, I added, no, so it's the 77 plus the 313.
Yeah.
And I still put,
Right.
I tried to put a contingency, 15% contingency in there. It just depends how busy everybody is.
Okay, so it's gonna be 390, 380.
Yeah.
You're talking 400.
So I mean, we're talking about needing to fund another
100,000.
25% of the project.
Yeah, and maybe the budget will pass and we won't get full up, that's something.
Yeah, and we reached out to NVDA or anybody else about what additional funding there may be available. Because I mean, with something like this, there may be additional funds.
So you think the Leahy one is hinging on the 3.5 trillion that the government's passing? Trying
That would
to
be my
pass?
guess, based on the conversation we had at the museum and reapplied EDA, Economic Development Administration grant. So.
Because I do see the town of Groton listed under Leahy's, I think it's 10 or 12 projects or whatever that
Appropriations or whatever.
he's put in. But if it's waiting on that, it might not happen.
Yeah, because I think,
Well, last time we passed the budget in DC.
right,
Won't be good.
Let's say, I think it was in the 90s.
But we're really thinking that the ARPA would help us. And,
It'll help a majority of the project, it seems like, but we still have to figure out where we're.
and I wouldn't, I mean, in our community, I've told my other board members kind of the same thing where, we have to, 2026 now for our
Yeah.
money, and don't rush it. I mean,
Well, I think, looking at what the ARPA money's for, looking at this, I mean, it's a fit. I mean, it's a fit for what that money's intended to do. And this is the drainage especially is a major thing that we need to fix.
I mean, it's been sitting out there for
we need to get it
12
passed.
years.
Yeah, we need to get it.
I guess what I'm saying is if you put the bid out there and you say, look, you want bids in, April 1, but you have all of this year and you have all of next year to do this job. I think you'll see.
And that spreads it through a couple budgets of the towns to come up with that extra
Yeah, that could happen too.
or
But
grant.
if you
that
gave, if you gave them more time, I mean, when we see the highest numbers is when someone says, no, we have to do this tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then the numbers are higher, and you guys have a shorter time frame to get it done, and the shorter time frame, the more cost.
I think the big thing is that, what seems to be more time sensitive to me is that we need to get the approvals, we need to get this shovel ready so that we can put that out to bid. You know, that's kind of where I think the timeline is. We get it out to bid and we say it's you've got 18 months or you've got 2 years to complete this project. You know, that way we're not rushing, because we start rushing the project, we want to get it done in the summer, and then we're hitting all kinds of crap because we screwed something up.
I mean, we almost had a snafu just doing a pipe under the road. We bought 18-inch green pipe, SCR-35. You know, they're not keeping things in stock. They haven't had it. They were only getting 3 pieces of it, and one showed up, and someone must have hit it with a front end loader or something, because it cracked the bell. It was like, well, you can't use this. And luckily Hutchins, you know, they're a big company, and they had, like, we've got a 10-foot piece with a bell on it, can we use that? Well, it's in good shape. We brought it, it's in good shape, we're going to switch it out. But if they didn't have that pipe, they would have had any water. They would have done half of that job, and they would have had to leave and come back some other time. Well, just because of the availability of pipe. I mean, hopefully that will subside. I mean, I know the guys in Lindenville, Hopkins Supply, I mean, we ordered, I want to say total ordered, 100 pieces of pipe, and 2 months later, 12 pieces showed. So, it's still, there's shortages of drivers and workers. Hopefully, hope to that will be solved out over the next
A lot to think about, so.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
well, we appreciate you coming in.
Yep. Thanks, Dave. So let me know how you guys want to move forward.
Okay, we'll do that. All right, thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nate. Highways next.
Yeah. Yeah, department updates. Highway.
I might as well start right off with your all field drainage and tractor mine community building.
Well, you already heard about the prep work.
Can it be done?
Well, anything can be done. When do you want me to do it? How do you want me to bill it? And who wants to take the calls when the road wreck gets worked?
If you can do it, we want you to do it when you have the time to do it, obviously.
I would say in 2025.
When you retire?
Is it something you're willing to do, or would you rather not? No.
You guys are in charge.
Yes, but it's not a dictatorship. I'm
No,
asking
but-
you if it's something that you would, if it's really gonna stick in your craw, it's not worth it to us to ask you to do it, Harold. We don't need to create bad blood between you and us.
No, it can be done.
Yeah.
Just a matter of scheduling it.
Yeah, I mean, in my mind, that's just my mind, when you have the time to do it. You know, it's been wet back there since it got made. So if your time is October, if your time is June of next summer, the select board certainly doesn't want you pulling off the road to do that. The town owns the excavator, and the cost of hiring somebody to do it versus, it being right there. If you were willing to do it, it would be a benefit to the town. So, but again, absolutely, don't put off road maintenance. Because that's your job, and that's what people elected you to do, not to fix a drainage around a ball field. But if you were receptive to it, it'd be a benefit to the town.
I don't have a problem doing it.
Okay.
You know, how do you want it built? I mean, we all know it can't come out of the highway.
Yeah.
Well, the town property maintenance would just get paid under there, just like when Ben does stuff.
We would just add it under your pay. You know, I would add that
It's in the
budget
general
line to your,
Which one are we talking about?
Either one.
Puffer field? Drainage, oh, okay.
So there is an estimate in there from the person doing some of the work that we got on, and if you didn't want to use Harold, then he has a price that he can do it for $1,740.
That's for the ball field.
That's for Puffer's ball field.
So that's a total amount, 17,900.
No, he combined all the different options. So the ones I circled
Yeah,
at the bottom, that comes to 8870, but he's got new bases. He said he wasn't sure if Frost Field, so we do have new bases at Frost Field, so not that that's a lot of money, but a couple $100 less than the 8870 would be for this year. And then the 2,900 that I circled was next year's, just like a yearly thing to keep the both ball fields up. So if you see the 1740 circled, that's his trench work at Puffer Field.
That's the drainage work.
Yeah. And then the first one is the stuff to do Puffer's Field and then Frost Field.
So,
And that's where we have the grant, the $5,000 we have in the budget, the matching $5,000 from the grant that was already been approved.
yep,
So for this year, if we did those top three things, would be around $8,800.
You've got time to do it this year?
He acted like he did.
Yeah, he said it should be done in the fall, and he could do it.
Okay.
do you know who Boyd is?
Hoyt Airby.
Yeah,
Yeah, Hoyt 1, 2, or 3.
I don't know, I just know him by Hoyt, because I just met him at soccer tonight.
Oh, okay.
That's why I was late.
Yeah.
Hoyt, who knows
Yeah.
Ben Hannon,
Yeah,
said that Ben and him were willing to do some work on Frost Field, they just needed help with material.
yeah.
So I don't know if that,
So the one thing that I thought was nice on what this person has, and what Frostfield desperately needs, is this it's not really rototillin, but it is, but it was something else where it mixes it up, but it also takes away, you know how when you rototill and then you gotta rake it and clean up all the rocks and the clumps of
It does
grass?
all that
This
together.
does all of that.
Mhm.
And I think Frostfield desperately needs that.
yeah, that's what they were telling me, that was
Yeah.
what he said, was Ben Gannon was willing to bring his rototiller on his tractor over and tear it all up, like he did at Puffer Field.
Yeah, if you read on the email, I think he talks exactly what that would do.
Okay.
He would like recut the field, the infield too, to make it,
Yeah.
straight right through the baselines.
Yeah, that'd be great. That way you're not standing in the crater at shortstop.
Yeah,
The real craters are in the outfield.
I know they are,
Yeah.
yeah. We gotta-
ones you don't see. So what's the pleasure?
Still doing the highway department anyway,
Yeah, right. So for the ball field drainage, I mean, we have $1,700 to do it, I mean. Or
It
just,
doesn't do that much damage, just running the excavator truck through there.
Well, then you can just focus on blocks and stuff out here.
But does it say what he's planning to do out? I mean, the bigger problem is outside the fence, between the fence and the brook, river. I mean, it sounds awful cheap to get water
It
to
says,
run.
excavator work includes a 40-foot trench that is 3 feet wide by 4 to 5 feet deep, depending on what he sees for soil. This is on the left side near Route 302. He did paint the area already, so he could, ready to call dig safe. A little work on the outside of the right side field. The town guys did not have time this fall. And then on here, he has excavator work and stone material, trench filled with stone on left side near road, small trench on right side, outside of fence for attempt to dry right field.
So left field is wet too, I thought it was all right field.
Well, according to Nate too, when he was there, it's coming across and then
Settling it.
it settles in right field because it's higher right here. So the trench would just, it can all pool right outside of right field. Doesn't have to go to the river or whatever. The idea is just to get it out of the field. And he said some more stuff too.
So he's just
This guy
saying-
went up there too and
this
walked
is just
it.
gonna be a trench filled with stone, I mean,
I think it's gonna cover back in now. No,
I don't know.
didn't say anything about drainage pipe, but
Well, that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying, like, if there's no drainage, it's not like he's putting in any kind of drainage piping in there. That
Well,
would carry
he's-
that water right away, instead it's just. a
Well, he's
trench.
got on, or here, could do a rolled drain pipe or PVC could be installed, and trench could be backfilled with stone or sand, like the sand pile at the town garage. If you read, it's towards the bottom.
Yeah. There's one right. Okay, he didn't price that out though, did he? He just priced out the,
he didn't price for,
yeah, he didn't price out the
Still go forward and just.
drainage piping.
Right, I think on his pricing, it shows the stone material. And this is the
Yeah,
same
so
company that does,
Here's what he's saying, he's
Stuff
saying
right
creating a trench, but he's didn't say anything about backfilling it. He'd only backfill it if you put pipe on it. There's a risk of falling, if it creates a dangerous falling hazard.
Well, why wouldn't you do a full perforated Schedule 40 and then backfill it with crushed stone?
Well, I think
Yeah.
he's got an option here, but he didn't price it out, because that's what I would've thought to do,
Yeah,
would
I
have been
would
put some
think
sort of,
that would make sense, everyone's right,
Yeah.
I mean,
I mean, if you're just gonna dig a trench, put stone in it, you just,
dig a trench, put stone
I
in
mean,
it.
but still water needs to run away. I mean,
it's
it
gotta go
doesn't
somewhere.
have a place to go, it's still there, it
Well,
just,
you're gonna have a trench filled with water and stone.
Right, exactly.
this would be a stream on one side, a field, a stream.
Yeah.
well, I mean, you can approve the other stuff and not this, and then just have Harold do what you guys are talking about.
Well, I mean, I'm just thinking that he didn't price out what the drain pipe would be. Well, drain pipe is what I
don't
think.
put the roll drain pipe in.
No, don't. Okay,
There's already some of that there.
obviously, it's not doing any good. Yeah. I mean, that's that's right field. Will he's saying do the same thing on the left side of the field too?
Yes.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what,
yeah, we wouldn't be able to have an open gravel trench on that side of the field at all. I mean, on the right side, I could understand because it goes back past where you park and bleachers and all that stuff. Might be all right with that, but I'd have it covered up. And
40-foot trench, 3 feet wide and 4 to 5 feet deep. You
You
don't
got a
feel comfortable
liability
leaving that.
You've got a liability issue, it's not
Anything over 30 inches did have a fence.
Yeah.
As
You just
neat
learned
as
this.
that.
You just learned this. Yeah, I mean,
Happy to have him do the first two.
yeah, puffers A, frost A.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, someone, you know, this is just somebody coming, he does South Raggy Field and BMU. I mean, it's part of his job for all that stuff, so I think if we get a better plan for whatever anyone wants to decide is the best way to dry out Puffer
Well, I mean, I
Field.
just think that, I just think that there's a risk of a dangerous situation that will be a liability to the town. I think we gotta do, I mean, it's a plan, we need a better plan, I think is what it is. I'd like to understand a little bit better what he's talking about with,
He seemed to
Piping.
know what he was,
yeah.
really know what he was talking about. He's done this in the past.
Yeah, yeah.
He tried to send me pictures, but I couldn't get them off the printer.
Yeah,
So,
I'd like to see the pricing with a laid pipe, with a drainage pipe laid in there. Cause it's, I mean, that $1,700 isn't that bad to do that, but it's the pipe that's gonna cost us a lot of money, I'm sure.
well, maybe when he comes and does these other two, he can talk to Harold about the trench that he's talking about and see if it's similar to what you guys are talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not against fixing the drainage over there, I just think we wanna do it right the first time and not have to redo it.
And we don't want any liability in the process.
Yeah, well, I mean,
We don't wanna create one.
the other thing is you don't want to be putting money into the ball field for fertilization and stuff like that, and then every time the rain comes, it takes
Washes it
it
back
out.
into the
Yeah.
river.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense,
Buffer field and you're seeding down the
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Well, I think the moisture is more in the outfield, so
Yeah.
he'd just be doing the infield.
Oh, over there,
All of this is for the infield.
infields. Yeah.
Gotcha.
He did talk about seeding, someone could seed Puffer Field, because he said it's all weeds, and weeds don't take the water that grass would actually
Help it
Help the
absorb.
drain, help the drain.
dry up that water too, if it was all grass instead of all weeds.
Yep,
Something to look at.
yeah. So I'd say for, ball field drainage, I know we got it under highway, but I think we should do what's here proposed as a maintenance cost as opposed to doing it with the town. Cause I mean, taking a trencher, you guys could do that, but is it gonna be?
You're not gonna do it for $1,700. No way. I mean, you gotta get the water out of there. And there's quite a distance between the fence and the brook. And that whole area right there, outside the fence, is all wet.
Yeah, get water, but it's the drainage for the whole, it really should, that, once you get down in there, that all should be regraded down, so
Well,
that
they-
it slopes down towards the.
Right, they talked about a bigger project of filling in right field and bringing it up, but that seemed a little out of our range of,
Hot dirt coming out over here,
yeah.
Yeah.
Dirt.
filling that whole gut field.
But both him and Nate were both talking about fixing
The roadside and,
in the corner, and they both thought this would help, could solve it. I mean,
No,
really,
I don't
yeah.
doubt that it will, but I think it's gonna create, with the number, just drive down there when the softball tournament's happening, there's so many people walking in and around there, you put a trench with stone in it, it's not covered up with something, you're gonna have people tripping, falling, getting hurt down there, and it's gonna take one person to break their ankle, sue the town for, $100,000, because they broke their ankle on a trench we put in.
$100,000 won't even get you in the back of an ambulance. What are you talking?
I was a little
Like you were a little bummed.
Who's conservative?
Yeah, I doubt highly that Nate Seacard planned a 3-foot wide by 4-foot deep trench just beside that ball field. He had to have had something either.
He actually did say that,
Like-
and I was surprised, because we said, no, people,
He said
fans
you'd
line
use
up.
bigger rocks, so it wouldn't be, isn't
A
it?
falling hazard.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a falling thing.
No,
I mean, they
Well, that's
both
what-
said the same thing.
that's like the runoff trenching they've done for the 302. I mean, put bigger rock in there, that's fine, but you ever try to walk across that stuff? Easy to break your ankle on that.
That's why you don't walk.
Right. I don't know.
Well, knowing the people that are over there.
Labor Day weekend.
The 30 racks of Natty Ice for Bill's Grill, somebody's bound to break something.
They'll try it.
Yeah.
One of the little kids just running and falling into it.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. That's why I think, it might be better to have something that's good. I mean, he indicates that in the email, right? Putting a trench in there and then, putting the roll drain pipe with PVC and covering backfilling that up.
Yeah, and then if you read the next paragraph. A whole nother
Across the field, the outfield.
trench drain lines across the outfield playing surface. That'd be,
I don't know how much that would be. I mean, you're just gonna
Leave a 3-foot trench in that? Yeah.
take a trencher. I mean, trencher's gonna put maybe a foot wide spot in there. It's not gonna be like the 3-foot wide where you're gonna need an excavator to dig it out. That might actually not be that bad. The price of the pipe would be what would cost a lot of money, but. Anyway. So I'd say, I think with something like this, the way that, we need a little bit more information, but I don't think the highway should be doing that work, because it's gonna be a lengthy project,
I think it's gonna turn into a bigger project than just, I mean,
I concur, Harold.
just my opinion, but
well, it's also been like this and nothing's happened. So I would think even some small amount of help without thinking we fixed the whole and solved the whole problem, but we've done something maybe helps it a little, and people are still playing on it and it's a little bit wet.
Yeah. Well, that's what I think, me is a little bit of help is good, but we should do the right help. So, what is it gonna cost for us to put PVC pipe in that trench and get it covered back over appropriately? I think is the right answer. And I don't wanna hold it up, but we need to know what that costs.
Yeah, I mean, none of these top two hinge on the other one.
On the excavator work.
Right.
No.
So when he says he can clarify or we can change anything, so I think if we ask him for the price of doing what you're saying, you at least get a price on what you're thinking.
Yeah, no, I think that would make sense, and then I have no problem, approving it. I think we need to do it for sure, but I think, let's do it right the first time and not have to come back and redo it again, because that's right. And I think having them, he priced it out. I think having them do it would make sense.
All right, well, we can reach out to him for that estimate on that.
Yeah,
Yeah, that'd be great.
And then, are you giving the go-ahead for the top two, or are we waiting on all of it?
No, I mean, I think the top two makes sense. I think, like I said, I think, White and Ben Gannon said they'd help with that too, but if we were gonna do it, we'll just do it, and we got the money for it.
So will you get a motion to take care of this, at least the first part of the project?
Sure, I'll move that we approve, from Joslin Sports Turf. Option Puffers A for $3,508 and Frost A, option A, which is $3,622, and I think we said it's coming from the.
And that'll be a little less, cause we have the new bases.
Yep. What is it, what fund are we taking it out of for the motion? When we say building and maintenance?
Town property
Town
maintenance.
property maintenance.
Okay,
Second?
all right, any other discussion? Any other discussion? Hearing none, call vote, all those in favor of the motion of the work being done, Puffers A, and Frost A. Signify by saying aye.
Right?
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. All right, so we'll get at least part of it started, so,
Yep.
That's good.
yeah. I kinda had to go along with what Zach said, it would be nice to find out what that cost of that PVC is gonna be, because it'll probably be outrageous, like everything else is going right now, so. And, we need to be.
I know last time I went to Lowe's, they had drainage pipes in stock. Harold could dig the hole, all get,
Costs are actually coming down now.
yeah, a lot of prices are coming.
How long was that trench with the pipe in it?
40
feet.
3 feet wide, 4 to 5 feet deep.
That's a lot of stone.
It is. Yeah, it is.
At
About $1,700.
$12 a yard.
You can go see the paint on the ground, you see the paint on the ground, and maybe take a look. See how long it was.
Okay, well, anyways, anything else you got, Harold?
No, we're chugging along, cleaning culverts and grading roads.
Okay, well, appreciate your work.
I don't know, I mean, I put that thing in for the grant, the letter of intent for that grant, for that blower.
Yeah.
Should we catch Zach up on it, or do you already know what's going on there?
Gonna catch me up quick.
So last meeting, they approved to put a letter of intent in for a leaf blower,
Yep,
big leaf blower,
big leaf blower. Okay.
tow behind. The town's gonna end up spending like $2,400. Maybe just a whisker over $2,400 for over $8,000 piece of equipment.
Nice.
But it'll blow the leaves off the road, out of the ditches, prolong or in between ditching. So, yeah, you got it.
Okay.
Open especially like the stone line ditches. They
Yep.
really can't get in,
Mhm.
now.
Yep.
Do you think that'll happen this year?
Blow some stone out of the ditch.
With going stone up in the woods, yeah.
That's all I got.
Thank you, Harold.
Okay, thank you, Harold.
Thanks, Harold.
All right, treasurer.
Okay, I think I put most everything up there. So I handed out the budgets. Should be at 75%. All departments got them. We received, the grant money for, highway paving, so that was short and sweet, that's great. That's 141,000, so that's great. I actually think I gave you reserves. Balances of reserves, maybe, maybe not, I don't know.
Do you have the sheet?
No.
This sheet here, no? Okay, so I think I have them here. So, this shows the balances missed signing some of that,
Thank you.
so, so you can see the balances, there was, you know, we funded them all, moved all the money over. I leave one for myself to talk about it, but, so you can see the paving money when we put it in, and it brings it to 15,000 now. And the community building property expense is at 21,000. So everything's been moved over. So at first I thought that the reserve money, I put a note in the select board folder for y'all to read, and we talk about how to pay for these different things. And we reread the article on the community building expansion property, and it does specifically say septic. So that money does need to come from the newest established account. I thought it could go to community building improvement reserves, because it really is about the building, not about the property. But the article does say septic, so that's where we'll have to do that. And then, so I just wanted to clear that up.
Okay.
So this week I've paid out everybody's stipends. I think everybody has their stubs. Fire department, I paid out the third quarter, and I don't know where Brenda, I gave them to Brenda. And
I've got them up, I'll
Okay.
post up the station.
all right. And just wanted to update you that the VIP account is open finally today.
It only took 3 weeks. Huh?
Yeah. So, and it was a struggle, so.
Yeah.
Repro, I got an email from them about the town report, and she sent me a very long email saying that there's a huge paper shortage worldwide, and it is big problem all over. She recommends us signing our contract and placing the order, well, not placing the order, but reserving our quantity, and we had to bump our quantity down to help with the reserving of the paper. So we did a 2-year contract, and it's $13.85 a year. Last year was $13.15. So it's really not a problem. So
Less will be printed, but.
yeah, less will be printed, you know, what, is it 100 less? 100 less.
Okay. And we're still gonna get those.
Yeah, we still get,
No, but I mean,
Yeah.
like, we
Yeah,
order like.
The spiral ones and,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, but I mean, like, we usually order 150 more than we need.
yeah, when we have,
Well-
well, we've been slowly,
Yeah.
having less and less to care, but we've.
One per household is how we did it this past year. One per address.
Yep.
So, and then there's extras here, so if you wanted one, you know, you can come down here and grab another
Those
one.
are registered voters though, right? Doesn't go
Yeah,
every
Right.
address, the postal.
right.
Right.
And it's online too. You
Right.
print it off the internet
Right.
if need be.
There's a paper shortage.
You can read it off the internet and don't print it.
So I thought that was, interesting.
And I just wanna say, some towns don't print them at all.
Yeah, and don't
Don't
mail
mail
them. Don't print them and don't mail them. So
Do we have, I mean,
it might be the way of
sounds
the
like a
future.
crazy question in 2021, but do we have a list of email addresses for most of the registered voters in town?
God, no.
I mean, is it something that we could, I mean, I'm just thinking.
No, the
could we
state is-
promote-
The state is gonna push that because of the new curing of the ballots that the state has decided to do. But, I mean, that will be its biggest push, and that'll be next year.
Well, I say that, I mean, this
And
is-
that's the easiest way too, because you go into my voter page and you can put it,
Yeah.
instead of somebody just saying, hi, here's my email, and I gotta store it somewhere.
Well, and I'm just thinking, you know, do we put information out at some point, you know, ahead of, you know, ordering, printing, mailing, that just says if you're interested in having your town report emailed to you instead of mailed to you, you know, send an email to Carrie or something, and then you compile that list. Because then maybe we don't have to order as many. Maybe there's 200 people in town that don't really want a paper copy, they just want the electronic copy.
Yeah, and I think as years start happening here, it's gonna weed down to that's the way the norm's gonna be. That it's not gonna be mailed to everybody.
Just kind of word of caution though, when you talk about electronic, because we need to go back into what the state statutes and stuff is, because anything that deals with finances for the town needs to be, we need to be careful that, they sometimes are so dead set against having an email. It may be hard, unless you know what the state says, if it's allowed, if it's.
Yeah, I mean, there's no state rule saying it has to be mailed to you.
No, I'm just saying it has to be, the printed copy has to be accessible.
And it's on our town
Well,
site.
and I don't think that, I'm not saying that we wouldn't have it accessible, I'm just saying, if we were trying to
Yeah.
Well, I understand.
help with the global paper shortage by,
Right.
having people that opt out.
Yeah, I just want to try to make sure we stay within what the state mandates do, because we could end up walking on grounds where the state said, oh, no, you can't do this, and we end up having to, have egg all over our face, so that's something, I'm all for it if we can cut things short, but on the same note, just make sure that we comply with whatever the state says we can and can't do, because they'll be the first ones, somebody will complain, and that's all it's gonna
Yeah,
take.
and they give plenty of guidance
Yeah.
on all that stuff too, that way they want things.
So, like I say, I'm all for it, so, but it's just.
Okay, so now I'm handing out the Blue Cross Blue Shield and their rates. So I don't know if you've done any work on that at all. I think you had mentioned you wanted it in June or something, but it doesn't come until now.
Nope.
And then,
Reese, one through for us.
so we also got the MVP one, just to show you. Be aware, and we can, hash it all out on budget day. The Blue Cross did go down, $441.
Which one do we currently?
I think we circled it.
Okay, the one you got circled for
Yeah.
MVP, is that the one that
Yeah.
is compatible with Blue Cross?
Yeah.
Oh,
Actually,
One
there's
circled on the right, one
Yeah.
circled at the bottom.
Yeah, I see that Blue Cross is a little bit lower than,
So then we need to pick the date for budget talks. Everybody did choose the 13th, so somebody has an appointment first thing in the morning, so should we try to do it on the 13th, just maybe start a little later, or do you want to do it the next weekend? That's, that's the weekend right
and it
before
is opening
Thanksgiving.
day at deer seasons.
We should have your deer by 9 AM.
Yeah.
Not all of us.
The weekend
Peter's
before.
If I got one at dealer, I wouldn't even have it drug out by then, probably.
So if we can decide that tonight, which day you want to do it. So the 13th, we usually do it like 8 to 2, but if we still stick with the 13th, we could do it like 9 to 3. Or we could do the 20th back at 8.
You're the one with the conflict, I just assumed do it the 13th and just start a little bit later, but
that's
that's
fine,
up to you.
that's whatever, just long as you understand that I got priorities that are coming into play.
We could start doing we could mix up the order,
Yeah.
do the simple stuff
Yeah,
that
'cause the fire
The two of you
department
can
usually is
still
up
make-
front first, so
Yeah.
I won't be here, so.
we can move them.
Move it, so.
So then it
but
would be
as long as-
easier.
As long as everybody's all right with it, that's fine with me, I don't care.
So stick with the 13th,
I would, yeah, and perhaps a later start.
start at 9.
Yeah.
What time is best? Wait, because you're the one with the conflict.
I'm gonna be in St. John's for 8 o'clock.
Yeah. She's got
Some
cataract, she's got
surgery.
cataract surgery, the next day is where they just take the patch off. So it should be in and out, but
Theoretically.
theoretically.
All right, so we'll start at 9 and we'll rearrange the agenda so it's the small stuff
Do
that,
tree warning at 9.
yeah.
Yeah, tree warden. Okay.
Got to catch him.
Okay, that's good. So Blue Cross Blue Shield, MVP, and, guess, I think that's it for now. I have more at, maintenance, but, I was supposed to bring to the table, audit and cemetery and cleaning bids, but it's just been very busy. I haven't had a chance. I'll try to look at what we did last year, and then I thought I would print them and then you guys can adjust them. So that really will have to be done next time. Those 3 things should be on the agenda. Deb?
What were they?
Audit, cemetery, and cleaning. And it is the time that we work on the VLCT passive renewal, that we go through all the buildings and make sure everything works.
Vehicles.
The vehicles, true. So that will be done, it's Tuesday, we'll be doing that. And just the conversation about the community club, are you talking about that? And I guess that's it.
Could I just bring up the thing about raising the PO levels from the current 500 to 1,000? The justification for it is not only as from the fire, but from fast squad as well, and maybe other departments are in. I know the town runs into the same problem, is that you can't order nothing. I've run into this problem already in the last couple of months. You can't order anything that doesn't cost over $500. I mean, it just, so I mean, it's just to have somebody, I imagine Zach probably get his ear bent every time we turn around. Anytime we got something that's over $500, we need to call him or to get verbal approval or whatever the case may be. So it would be better off if we could to raise to at least 1,000 to kind of alleviate that problem for the time being. So it gives us a little bit of flexibility.
It's not saying you can't do it, you just have to have it pre-approved.
Well, that's,
I mean,
yeah, well,
that shouldn't be that hard.
well, it depends.
It is.
It is, yeah.
It's hard to get people to respond to emails.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That is true.
That's them, not me. I respond to emails.
But again, and I'll use a fast squad for instance. They run into where they need medical supplies and stuff like that. It makes it difficult when they got, they're trying to get the stuff and have to do a rabbit chase. So.
Well, the only concern I have is it's just opening a large dollar amount for, I honestly don't feel that the select board really looks at all the things they're signing. So now, instead of 500, now you're talking 1,000.
Yeah.
And it can be every day of the week. I'm writing a check for $1,000 and you might be looking, you might not be looking.
Well,
500 at least makes it very accountable.
Yeah, well, the thing is I don't like to sit there and have to explain to the auditor every time we make a mistake and we need something, and so, well, how come you didn't go to your point person? Well, we ain't got time to deal with that. They don't like to hear that excuse, and I don't like to have to use that excuse. When I got stuff I wanna get it. I don't wanna have to sit there and play games. So,
When was the last time that it was raised?
It hasn't been since I've been on.
Dorothy,
Excuse me?
last time that purchase order was raised, the amount?
I have no idea.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know that it's
Yes,
6 years.
Dorothy, yeah, I think you got the most
So
time
it's
to
been in
say.
perpetuity, basically?
And how many,
See, it's a procedure, it's not a policy, because that's what I looked up on the policies. And so the procedure, I don't think had a date on it. 2015 was the policy for
Purchase order.
funding or whatever it is. But
So we'd have to rewrite
Dollars.
rewrite it all, and then I'd have to, you have to sign off on it.
so I guess my question is, how many POs have we had that were over $500 that required signatures that we didn't get done in a timely fashion? I mean,
Well, I can go through and look.
I'm
if
just
you want me
thinking,
to.
no, I mean, just,
More than one, more than 5?
yeah, I mean, is it?
Oh, yeah.
that are over-
Then it's the process. It's the process that I'm trying to follow, and that is what is the stopper, is the process.
I mean, just a fast squad alone, there's at least every month, where Brenda, she's head of service, she only orders like $498 worth of stuff when she needs over 1,000, because she doesn't want to have to go through the rigmarole of having to go get the thing pre-approved every time, if she was to spend what she should be spending.
I mean, you could have it all in your Amazon
So,
cart,
you have
written
a
on a
purchase
PO, it's
order
signed, and then
that
it, fine.
$495 on it. Get another purchase order, do another $400.
Yeah, that happens.
That happens, that's not right. I mean, that happens, but that's not
I
right.
think that circumvents the whole purpose
It
of,
absolutely does.
then we're still spending the same amount of money.
Yeah.
It's just not being reviewed or approved.
Well,
That's
it
my
is.
only worry.
It is being reviewed
increasing.
because the select board is supposed to review the purchase orders when they sign them. So they better be reviewed.
Well, but, I mean, that's what we're saying, there's no, for a PO, any PO under $500,
It's not pre-approved.
it's not pre.
It's not really
It doesn't
looked
have
at.
to be pre-approved, but it has to be approved, right?
Yeah.
And the other issue is you can't, when you do this type of process, it makes it difficult, at least when, I don't know about the rest of them, but when I have to order, I ordered small, just a small amount of stuff for the fire department. Ran over, like hoods and gloves and fire gloves. No, it fit in a box about that size there, $1,200 something. And I had to call the guy I'm doing the work, ordering from, say, hey, you gotta give me how much it's gonna cost for shipping and this and that. He says, because this is all gonna be pre-approved before I can order. And all of a sudden, it kind of stops them dead in their tracks. And so it may be two more weeks or whatever the select board meeting is, before we get it approved to go through this process before I can order it. Meanwhile, I got guys on the fire line, on the fire ground, that don't have adequate equipment because I gotta wait.
I mean,
But
there's
even
emergency
$1,000
purchases too that's
yeah.
in place, that you,
Well-
if it's an emergency, you can.
I don't want, at 2:30 in the morning, I ain't got, who's gonna be around? Don't work and
I
stuff.
think it's
Yeah.
just all about planning
Yeah, well,
ahead, but.
Well, I mean, I'm trying to understand too, where, we're ordering supplies, for the fast squad monthly. Is it because supplies are expiring, we're replacing expired supplies?
Both.
Or, you're obviously using them
Use them
for
and then
incidents. This is my mind thinking, my business mind goes into effect, which is, if we have a call and we're using supplies, why are we not accounting for those directly after that to tie it to an incident? That order, then it could be less, but I mean, one, it reduces the amount of supplies that we have. It's reducing that waste that you end up with expired supplies. I'm thinking, does it really need to be handled? The other thing that I'm thinking is, who are we ordering medical supply? I mean, I did this for a living for a couple of years. Who are we ordering medical supplies? Do we have an account with them? Are we setting up regular ordering from them? And, not that we're trying to circumvent this purchasing, but we're streamlining this purchasing.
Why wouldn't you order it weekly if that's the case?
Or after every incident, I mean,
Right.
if you use all your gauze on one call, you're gonna need gauze, right? I mean, that's kind of my thought.
I just brought it out there, so.
Who signs off, if you have something over 500, does Zach has to sign your PO? Because you guys are on fire department? So you have the PO and you just leave it out in the thing,
Usually,
and then Zach can just come the very next day and sign it.
Or, Wade's been really good about calling me and letting me know it's there. The last couple ones especially, getting a hold of me and letting me know to go sign them.
Yeah. So it doesn't have to wait the 2 weeks to a meeting, it can just be left here and he signs it.
but anyways, I brought it out, so I told individuals I would bring it up.
I'm
Well, no, I
concerned that we're not ordering in timely manner. If we're only ordering once a month, or we're ordering more than $500 at a time, is there?
Well, and I think, anybody has a PO, even if it's medical supplies, if we need $1,500 worth of medical supplies, call me, email me, let me know. I mean, I have no problem swinging by, even if it's before work, after work. Can't do it during work, but.
Well, no, I agree with Lisa, the accountability from her standpoint is better at 500 than it is at 1,000.
Yeah, I would also say if Harold wants to run his budget out in 2 months, $1,000 POs at a time, that's on Harold.
Yep.
If the zoning administrator wants to run his budget out $1,000 a time, you know what I'm saying?
I would love to.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying. Whoever is the head of that department is responsible for that budget. And if they blow their budget in the first 3 months, because all of a sudden they could spend $1,000 that they couldn't before. Maybe there's a better person at that.
We have a kind of, just trying to find somebody to be on the planning commission.
God, I know.
Now you want somebody.
Yeah, somebody know.
Sounds like you just fired me.
Just know my budget.
Go ahead.
So what are the guidelines from A, the auditor, and B, VLCT? Are they saying sky's the limit, write a PO for whatever you want, or are they saying these should be the guidelines?
Well, I've never asked VLCT this question. These policies were set up before I got here, and the auditor just goes by what our procedures and policies say. So that's what she bounces back on. So there's no discussion of right or wrong.
Anyway, good discussion, so. Losing no words saying, so. Unless anybody else have any other discussion with it?
I got one question. You said the capacity was coming next Tuesday?
No,
Oh,
No,
oh,
no,
Just have to send it in.
we have to send it.
oh,
No, just to go over all the values and stuff. So.
oh. I thought they were coming around again and just moving it.
No,
I'll just-
Inspection.
Still pull out all the coffee cups out of the truck, right?
That ain't what I'm worried about.
No.
It's that list on the MSDS or
That too.
SDS or whatever they are now.
SDS, yeah.
I always call them MSDS sheets. That's why. All right, other than that, town clerk.
Okay, so we talked about the ball fields. I have the incident with the lady with all the dogs, just to make sure it's clarified that all the dogs have been taken care of. They all have a new home, so there's no worry. I did have somebody call willing to take a couple of them, and that was very nice. So just to get it out there that all the dogs are off to a new home. I also have the cot system person is asking if we want to index some more books. We've come up with a little price sheet. They're doing some right now, November, end of October, November for this year. If not, we'd have to wait till spring or summer of next year. So if we did 20 more books, which I believe brings us back to I want to guess 1990. Right now we're at 2003. It's like 10 more years. It might be 1980. I figured it out with two different sets. So it's roughly $1,300. I'm sorry, $13,000. So we have the restoration fund in the reserves that has $33,000 that can be used. ARPA is another venue for this that would cover it. So that would be up to, we obviously just talked about our big money thing for ARPA, which makes sense to not, I don't know, in my mind makes sense to not piece the ARPA money around to little things.
Yeah, do a lump something.
So I still feel the reserves can handle that, and that puts another, 10 to 20 years online, which would be huge. 20 more books would be great.
You really gotta stop having, there's gotta be a point where people stop looking for those, you know what I mean, after 30 years or so, like how many?
Yeah, they say 40 years.
Yeah.
So, a lot of times I have a researcher and I'll tell them we're online and, what we have can help plenty of people, but then it can also just start some people, but then they need the further back ones if it's a long title search.
Yeah.
So then this would help with that. Plus it's also preservation, don't forget.
Yeah.
It's also preserving them, and, instead of in these books in the vault that something could happen to. Could spill my coffee on them, could be, anything. So this is just a great way to preserve them as well. We also have the new copier, printer, scanner. That's been great. I think last time I told you, putting the maps in. So now the maps go into a regular, you can do all sorts of things. And you can just email them, print. But I scan them right to a folder on my computer, and then I can take them from that folder right into the COT system, so they will be searchable, which will be huge. So when, you're just looking for Aaron Smith and you see his deeds and mortgage and a building permit, you'll also see that he had a survey or a map. It'll be right there, and you can print it see it.
Yeah.
That's gonna take some time, because that's not just scanning it, it's indexing it, which means putting your name to it, putting the date to it, putting your address to it, putting your parcel ID to it. So, that's totally a longer process, but, something that we can just work on the next 10 years, but for a while. But no, it'll be good. And scanning them in at least has them, like I've already done this the last couple of weeks, they're already on a folder, so I can look at it that way and just email it to a researcher too.
Yeah.
So, they can't go in and get it yet, but it's still online, not online, it's on my computer, and I can send it digitally.
Still digitized.
Instead of them taking those big things and they're copying a corner of it, and then they're copying another corner of it, and then they're taping it together. Now it's really gonna be a huge advantage to have that in the office. So I guess I'm looking to see if you can give the go-ahead to use the reserves on that, and we can get it done this year.
What reserve is it?
There's actually restoration. If you have that sheet, you see it. So every time I do a recording, and Linda did one, and everyone before her, $4 goes into this reserve. $11 goes to the town, just for like constable money or fast money, it goes to the town, and then $4 gets collected all year. At the end of the year, we transfer it to a reserve. And then that's how there's no appropriation that goes to this, which actually might not be a bad thought to do, but that's what builds up that reserve, is just that money, no town money. So, like I said, there's 33 in it, so this would use 13, bring us down to 20. This is what I use to buy the land record books, the big red books. We use this money to buy that, and the paper and stuff. That's really how that money is used. So this would be, we used it to buy that printer, and then we would use it to digitize.
Sounds like a good idea. What do you think, Zach?
Sure.
Make a motion to approve the town clerk to take use $13,000 from the restoration fund.
Can you say approximately? Because I don't have a final figure.
Approximately $13,000 from the restoration fund for
Digitizing 20 land record books.
20 land record books. I knew that.
All right.
Just seen it.
Second to that?
Second.
Any other discussion? Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? I'm not gonna explain it again. Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign.
Thank you. The one other thing I want to talk about was this whole new way we're charging for use of community building, fire station, highway garage, and doing it across the board. I think it was brought up with Mary Grant and the community building now paying to use the community building for chicken pie supper. So I guess a decision needs to be made that it's going to happen for everyone, which makes sense to me. But so Buckaroo's renting the highway garage, fire department renting the fire department to do your chicken barbecues. I think it all falls under the same idea as the community club paying to use this building on chicken pie supper time.
I see the community building gym as separate from the highway department of the highway garage.
Is it a town building?
It is a town building, but it's
And
not
is
one that,
Paid for by the taxpayer?
it is, yeah, it is.
Then how do you separate it?
One is a municipal building where people work, and the other one is a community building where people congregate. In my mind, Dan, no, you're absolutely, I'm not, yeah. But in my mind, it's like we rent out this place.
Right.
Once a year, a local organization asks Harold if they can use his highway garage.
So as a taxpayer, if I use this building,
Yeah,
or if I was to use his building,
yeah.
I would be asked to pay. So that being said, everyone else. It should be fair across the board.
I absolutely agree it should be fair across the board,
So-
and I didn't say it shouldn't be.
So-
All I said was, in my head, the community building gym and the highway garage aren't the same. I'm not saying that one shouldn't, but in my head, because it's all crazy, the highway department and the gym are two different things. But
I'd say from a legal and insurance perspective, they're both considered municipal facilities. The problem that we run into then too is what else constitutes a municipal facility. The ball fields
Is a
fall into that
municipal
category.
facility.
As a municipal property that's considered a facility of the town of Groton, if we're having somebody rent that, the town highway building falls into that same category when it comes to liability. So if somebody drives their, snowmobile in wrecks and gets hurt at the highway garage, it's the same as if somebody fell off the stage here and got hurt, right? It's from an insurance perspective.
I don't know, because we get the vast insurance for their event at Buckaroo's.
No, so who
But the
who
town's
pays?
listed on it?
Does the town pay for that insurance?
No.
Exactly. So like Chicken Pie Supper, they pay for their, or they have, now they're paying for their own insurance.
Right.
So that's where you have to start thinking about it from a legal and liability perspective. And we do have to do it equitably. We have to make sure that if we're doing it for one municipal facility, we're doing it for another. And if we're doing it for one nonprofit organization, we're doing it for another. It's just like, it's like the event that's happening, what, Saturday? The informational meeting that's happening? I mean, same thing, right? If
Right,
they're-
he's paid and
Yep,
renting
they
it.
have to rent, they have to, and I guess the question is when somebody pays the rental, who's paying, what is the insurance rider that we have for covering any type of community event under our rental agreements? So not to make it more complicated, but, how, looking at the documentation for how you would rent the building out, if it's for a nonprofit, or it's for a larger organization that has a nonprofit status, it probably needs to have a different type of rental agreement than if I, as a private citizen, rented the municipal building for a birthday party. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I
Kind
mean,
of long-winded answer, but I
Yeah,
think
no.
what it really means is we have to treat all of it fairly, equitably, and we need to make sure that we're covering ourselves for any legal liability for injury. That's my 2 cents.
So then I think you need to write something up on how you want to address renting use of town property. And then it's a policy and then procedure and goes across to nonprofit or person. I know when the rec uses it, it falls under the rec's insurance. When the rec sponsors an event, that's how that works.
So how is that? So, but when the rec does something, it'll be the town doing it, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But like Taekwondo, they pay and they provide insurance.
And they're also a nonprofit, right?
Well,
I
I
I
don't
think
think
he's a
Taekwondo is a 501c3.
I don't think so.
If they're a for-profit business, it's a very poor one.
for a small
That's possible.
Just the question you talked about the fire department, how's the fire department coming? I'm just asking the question, just so.
So, does the fire department
If
have
you
a
come
part
down
of the?
here and use a stove.
I
I
just
think
wondered,
is what
because it said the fire department, we
Yeah.
cook chicken out talking about firehouse, so is the fire department gonna get charged?
Yes.
Well,
And
then,
the fire department's gonna charge?
You're a nonprofit,
But
that money,
That money
that's
goes
where
to that
the
other
fire
account.
department makes it complicated, because part of the fire department is a 501c, right? And the association is, now are you using that funding for operations of the fire department? So, because the fire department is technically a entity of the municipality, but you have a portion of that that's considered a 501c3, you have to treat it as a 501c to be equitable. So if the event is,
I see where you're coming, it's just, it doesn't, in my mind, it just doesn't make, it doesn't make sense, but it just,
So on a day we're barbecuing chicken, we would be down here maybe an hour to make sauce. So we'd pay an hour for this building, and then 3 hours for the barbecue pit area.
Yep. And show insurance. And show your insurance for the association. Because that's where the profits are going.
That's why you got the community club to get insurance.
And they did. They got a hefty plan for this event.
And so is their plan like just for the day? Or is their plan for like 365 days?
365.
Wow.
oh, I just wanted to get that, I just asked a question because I didn't know, it was kind of, I was taking it as, okay, it somehow didn't make sense there, but, yeah.
You know, I think too, I mean, the other thing to consider is, you know, for the fire department, you know, chicken for the chicken pie supper, it's their larger events. I mean, I think the other question would be, do we want to have, you know, a different fee structure for that is, because in chicken pie, they set up
Right,
Thursday
that's
night,
what we
they
said.
have
It
to
could be that they pay $50, just a flat thing for the whole 3 days. You know, where that covers so many days Thursday, so many hours Thursday, so many hours Friday, and so many hours Saturday.
So you're looking for all that type of information to be in the policy or the procedure?
The plan.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, you're not just coming one day for 2 hours to have my daughter's birthday party. You know, so two hours, $8 an hour, you're paying $16. So instead of charging all that over the long days, would add up more, I would say, than your $50 of just a flat fee payment.
And like, you know, Buckaroos, they have their meetings here, they're having one here Saturday, so they're gonna pay to have their meeting here.
Well, I guess the other question is, what does that payment really go to? I mean, it's a kind of a stupid question,
It's
but
supposed to go to the community building improvement fund.
It goes in the general fund, just like I said, Jim's tickets, fast revenue.
it just goes right.
Copies that are made in my office, it's all revenue. If you look,
Man, I don't know, somewhere that
That's-
lost the common sense.
It just doesn't, and that's where I'm trying to
I mean,
make sense of it. So I can understand.
The gym is like a facility
Yeah,
for an event facility.
yeah.
The basement isn't.
Well, but
If a community,
Oh, I had my baby
but
shower.
where I am disconnected from is we're talking about fees for larger events, for small events, for whatever. Those fees should technically go towards a liability insurance. That is what doesn't make sense to me. So,
but it does in a sense. It goes to the revenue of the town, and that in turn lowers how much needs to be raised in taxes.
yeah, but we're talking about nominal fees at this point.
They add up.
You know, I get they add up, but for the large events, we're talking about what, 5 large events at $50 a pop is $250.
I mean,
against the-
this is all
Blue
was
Mountain?
brought up,
This is-
The
yes,
gym?
yes.
Yeah. So, I mean,
This was Mary bringing this up for the community club, and it opened all these doors.
Well, that's where I
sometimes this stuff
think, you know,
happens.
if we're talking about a fee, right, that goes to pay for,
But that's not how town budgets work. You don't do one that pays the other.
you
It's
know,
not a business.
no, but they should offset still.
It still does,
Yeah, but,
just not directly, as you're saying. It offsets the budget in a whole, not line by line.
no, I don't, it doesn't do that in business either necessarily either. It's just, I think we're paying a fee to pay a fee. What is the fee going towards?
So you think of it as
Paying the
what-
fee.
all the revenue that we collect
Yeah.
pays the appropriations back to the reserves
Well,
every
but I
year.
mean, again,
I know, you're talking minimal amounts.
we're talking about nominal
So
amounts
then
that we're
decide
paying.
not to charge for any use of the
Well,
facilities.
and I think if,
That's the other.
that's kind of where my brain is going, okay? We charge fees that are consummate to what that event would be to offset the cost that we would pay for a liability insurance rider for the facility, right? As opposed to you have to, or.
Well,
on
no
the
matter
opposite
what, we
end-
would have a liability on this building, whether we had an event here or not.
No, I get that, but what we're also asking all these organizations to provide now is their own liability insurance rider for that event. So Chicken Pie Supper, they've spent $1,200 on an insurance rider for the event.
Right.
Okay,
That they brought up that they wanted to
Yeah,
do.
that was their topic.
So therefore, we aren't paying for their liability.
Correct.
That money comes directly back into the general.
however, we're paying for the rental of the facility.
They're paying for the rental.
Correct, they're paying for the
We-
rental of, yeah, we are not, no, we're getting the money for the
Right,
rental of the facility.
Right. So
Yeah.
that being said, it should be the same across the board.
Well, and that's just it should be all or nothing. You know, that's kind of the thing. If it's going towards a reserve fund for, building improvement, that makes sense, right? Because they're going to use the facility, wear and tear.
Well, it's going towards electricity that's being used when they're using the event, heat, if you're here in the
Cleaning.
winter, cleaning of it. So
But I
it
would
doesn't
say-
have to go towards the reserve of doing the building, it's going towards
Every day.
paying for all the everyday stuff.
I would still say that, like even if you did $50 for an event or $8 an hour for an event, I don't think that it's, how much is that actually?
Well, I'll show you one, we just looked at it.
You
It was
know,
higher, it was higher than what we
We've done higher,
budgeted.
yeah.
We've
For
collected
me,
this
as a
year.
taxpayer, I don't care if it's $1. I want it fair for everyone. If the fire department uses it, they pay their share. If the community club uses it, they pay their share. If I use it, I pay my share. I don't care if it's $1, $500,000 we make off it. It's gotta be fair across the board.
And one other thing
Agreed.
that changed a few years ago was people having to give a deposit because, like birthday party people mostly, because they were leaving it trashed, because nothing was accountable. They just came and left all the garbage, left all the balloons, all the streamers, et cetera, et cetera. And so that seems to have really
I haven't seen it at all,
controlled
to be
the
honest.
mess. People want to pick up because they want that $50 back. So that is huge for that. I mean, just wanted to bring up, that was another change that we had when all these discussions came up. I think paying a little bit for use of the space helps you be a little bit more aware of keeping it better. And our fees are very minimal. I mean, you rent a hall down in Haverhill.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hundreds of dollars for an afternoon, it's, I mean, we're $8. I mean, it's really a small amount.
No, I get it, but you do a 2-hour event, that's $16. How much time does it take you to process that payment? How much time does it take to do all
Nothing.
of those things, and
Cost
I
of
don't know.
home, cost of-
I'm just thinking from different perspectives, I think, but I think the bottom line is it needs to be fair and equitable across the board for everybody. So if we're gonna have, and I think we need to update the policy or procedure if we're gonna have something specific for large organizations, whether they're for-profit or not-for-profit, for larger events that, and I don't know how you define that, but how many people are gonna show up to the dogging event on Saturday, You get 50 people, that's a pretty large event.
So I guess the other thing we want to think about is the days we've had blood drawing here, and the nights that, and/or weekends that the fire department maybe is using the hall for training. Those are like, I just can't see us charging for events like that, but that's my opinion. I mean, there are, in the past, there have been probably 6 or 8 or 10 nights or days a year when the fire department's using that for training. Or the other thing that happens is we have mutual aid meetings every every couple of years, either Capital is gonna be here or Twin State's gonna be here.
But is that the fire department or your 501c3?
That's the fire department.
So see, that's where it could be different. We're not getting charged for having the select board meeting. So
Yeah.
you,
Okay.
fire department is
So it's-
the town,
Okay.
you're not gonna be
It's
charged.
used for the purposes of the municipality operations,
Okay,
which would
all right,
include,
that's
you
good
know,
to clear that.
training for the, yeah, that would fall under
Yeah,
municipal as opposed to
outside.
third party.
Okay,
I mean, and I think the other complication is if we start to do like the farmer's market, where does that fall into that? You know, that's, you know, organized externally, but
No, I think there was.
They would have to pay. I think they did.
pay. They had insurance.
yeah, so I mean,
I think
again,
they did.
it's making sure that we look at all of those things because, you know, we want to make sure that it's fair and equitable for everybody so that
Yeah.
there's no question. You know,
So rabies clinic, do they pay?
Nope.
That's for profit. That's for profit.
Was that?
Rabies.
Oh,
The
rabies.
rabies clinic.
but I guess the question is that's, you know, why do we do the rabies clinic?
Why do you do blood draw?
Exactly. You know,
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's not gonna be an easy policy to write.
no, because when it's like any policy, there's gonna be exceptions, so you have to think about it. Like, are we gonna charge the Red Cross because they wanna do a
Blood draw.
blood draw here? They wanna do a blood drive.
Well, like she just said, that would be under the fire department, the town.
Yeah, but it's.
That would be different.
It's different because it doesn't necessarily directly impact the
Oh,
town
okay.
operations, you know what I mean? But, you know,
Yeah, something like a blood draw, I mean, they're not doing it for, they're not doing it for money. I mean, it's,
Then there's the birthday party.
well, I know, but I'm just,
well, and I think maybe the way the clause needs to be written is when a third-party organization is having a large event. that
Providing a
includes-
service.
That, yeah, that,
Could also
exactly.
be that too.
That
Service
is
of blood
fundraising.
or
Birthday
rabies.
party, I feel like providing the service.
If you're
We're
putting it
making
on,
Dan
they
happy
go-
when we have his birthday party here.
providing a service to the public, so you have to invite everybody.
Yeah,
Trying to humble everybody. Whether people show up, I haven't seen
Forever.
free food.
yeah, I mean, I think the thing is, it's gonna be tricky, but I think it still needs to be equitable across the board. I think that's what Mary's point is,
Yes, I think so.
that we have to treat everybody equally. Anyway,
okay.
enough on that dead horse.
So that's all I have.
All right, Assistant Assessor Dorothy.
Harold's been working on the Minor Hill project and was talking with state folks. And in the course of that conversation, he was asking about our septic system and where it is. There's 7 Minor Hill Association, there's 7 houses that are part of that. So I did some digging and found the company that had done the plan when we did new septic system several years ago. And I called them and he was able to show me how to go online to the state website and find septic systems, septic plans. So that's huge, because now, it's very simple, it's all online, and if you have even a name for the town or a plan number, you can find the septic system. And then he said, oh, he can copy it and mail it to me, and I said, oh no, we have a printer, and so he was like very impressed that, he said other towns just don't have the 24-inch printer, so. But anyway, and both Carrie and I have, often get calls, where's my septic system? I've still got one lady that swears they don't have a septic system, but I'm gonna find it. So, anyway, that's one thing. The other thing one thing that Gary's been, saying for several years is that my color printer in the assessor's office is like the oldest printer we've got right now, and that we really need to be thinking about replacing it. So he got me a quote, and we're talking with Lisa, there's money there is money this year that it can come out of, and so we're thinking of ordering it now as opposed to putting it in next year's budget. So it's $469.47, but I just wanted to get, I get the specs are all here. The other thing that it's gonna do, it's gonna be color, but it'll also be able to do two-sided, which has been, it doesn't, the current one doesn't do two-sided, and that's a pain. Yeah, it's a
Well,
real,
that printer was made before they did two-sided. That's
yeah,
why.
it's a real problem. So if somebody wants to just sign this, that'd be great. And then Gary will get it ordered for us. And I think that's all that I have.
Thank you. Your class you were taking, did you do that already?
I did
Yeah.
2 days.
Yeah.
It was very, very good. I learned a lot, and then I was sick at the end of the week, so I wasn't able to finish. And that's, I think, okay, because I don't think I could have passed the exam.
Okay.
It was
Heavy stuff, or?
it was formulas and math and doing comparables. So this one was purchased right now. This one was purchased 6 months ago, so there's a formula there.
Yeah.
And this one was purchased 2 years ago, and there's a formula there. And it's not information that we use.
Yeah.
And it was very similar to the one that I took in White River Junction, where I got a 67 on the exam or whatever. And this was going to be 4 days, and then they take the exam online. And it was very not at all geared to Vermont.
Yeah.
It was a national course. We had 3 from a county in Virginia, we had 1 from Sioux City, Iowa, we had 1 from New Orleans, and then there were like 14 or 16 from Vermont. And I really would be interested to see how many of the Vermont people passed the exam.
Yeah.
The instructor was excellent. She reviewed everything and then reviewed it again in the morning, and these are the high points, so you knew what you had to study, but it was more on real estate appraisal.
Yeah.
Not day-to-day things that we're doing.
That's the end.
So I got a lot out of it for the 2 days, but I was not terribly I was too sick to come the last 2 days, so
That was okay.
anyway,
Yeah.
Get something out of it.
it worked, yes.
Thank you, Dorothy.
And I've got the book with the answers, but I don't know what the problems are.
Probably got half of everything.
I'm halfway there, yeah.
All right, there you go. Fire and fast, okay, anything on your end?
Nope. I asked before I left work.
Fire, I got pump testing, I gotta do on Saturday, so, just make sure we get everything up, keep up standard, and try to keep our ISO rating up there, so that's part of it, is we get these pumps tested and make sure they're all efficient, so.
It sounds like you're under pressure.
And always, yeah, always pray, they always get something coming up.
Sorry, I just had to.
No, just open the door.
Cracks me up.
Just open the gate, there you go. Other than that, no. Matter of fact, we did have our coin drop and everything. I think, got a little wet in the process, but we did fairly well. And back in the 9/11, we participated in, they had the 9/11 memorial thing down in Woodsville. And we took our engine down, and there was a 20-minute service. So we were part of the fire department there. So it was very interesting. They shut 302 down for about a half an hour, so that made it interesting. So, but really good service. So, that's all I got for fire. So. First constable. No, I didn't hear nothing. Jim hasn't said anything. So, library. Anything?
I have a concern from Fall Foliage Day. the parade was going down 302, had not turned around, was not coming back, and we had at least 3 or 4 cars that went down through. And that is like beyond dangerous.
Yeah, they came off of Powder Spring Road. I didn't catch the first 3, but I walked over and actually stopped the more cars from coming out of Powder Spring Road. So there was nobody at Powder Spring Road stopping traffic.
Wow.
I know Jim said to me earlier when I was out that day that he was having trouble getting enough people for each road closure.
I don't know how that usually works. He doesn't have
I
that
think he
planned
finds
out.
them I think he
Oh,
finds
yeah.
them in the morning.
That's
Big
scary.
cars, park them across the road.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
next year I'll park my truck right across it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Stop 'em.
stops it. Either that or you get a new truck.
Well, the issue, well, this being the first year back doing this, one of the problems is that when we did our coin drop, it's like the streets of Groton were rolled up, there was nobody, I mean, I've never seen, you know, you had 2 people wandering around, but it was like dead, I mean, you know,
Well,
there
you
was,
didn't have the lumberjack breakfast.
no,
Right.
You didn't have a lot of the things going on we normally do.
School pulled out.
no, the only thing I think Bill had is pumpkin thing out there,
Pumpkin.
but that's, I think, was the other thing that was going on. But the only thing is, it started picking up when they got close to the parade. And I was surprised, we didn't, of course, all the schools didn't participate because of.
No, the high school's quarantined.
So, that kind of shortened the parade dramatically.
Yep.
So, but, yeah, Jim had a terrible time. I mean, we had one of my guys, deputized to do the other end, so, I mean, he was having a tough time.
Next time I see Jim, I'll let him know. I can help with that next year.
Across from the church and then just back up and cross Powder Spring.
Hopefully, we'll get Mr. Jolly there to be
Yeah,
helping.
they want more.
He was riding the cruiser.
He's
So.
in-
He was in the parade with Jim.
He was in the parade with
Was
Jim.
he?
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh.
The first year he didn't walk with his family.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Was he in a clown costume?
On and on. Yeah. So anyway, anything library? Anything
No.
from, zoning administrator?
We got a couple things. One, the zoning application hasn't been updated for many years, and Terry's been doing a real good job getting that caught up. We've made a lot of changes to it.
I did add the class 4 thing,
You did.
that fit.
We added the class 4 thing, then we were looking at a piece the other day and found out it was from the 2004 zoning.
I fixed that too.
So we fixed that. I mean, it's a work in progress. The other thing, we've got a Walbridge subdivision permit going to the planning commission. And the third thing, final thing is, these people that don't put their applications in until after the structure is built will be fined. We're not playing games anymore. This guy built a picnic area, 1,000 square feet with a pad, but didn't think he needed a zoning permit. Plus, he owns half the mountain up there, he's built other projects that had permits, so he obviously knew.
Yeah.
Is that a one-time fine, or is that
No, that's per day,
per day? Oh, so what is it?
$100 per day.
So what is it, I just want to play devil's advocate here.
Yep.
So what would he have to do to correct the problem?
Well, for this individual, from the time that he was notified that he had to have a permit until the time the permit actually hit Carrie's desk was, I think, 9 days. That's $900 fine. He has to pay that. If he doesn't, then he has the opportunity to tear it down.
So I'm kind of saying, what?
And then if he doesn't do that, then what?
Then we take him to court.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And I will say that I don't believe I can't remember anyone that's been taken to court on a permit like that they've been asked to remove it that's ever won, so. municipality normally wins that because they have to take it to the environmental court. So,
Anything
and I
else?
don't need any money.
No.
Okay, we're good.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you, Dan.
Health officer, well, what you can say is that as far as the goat issue is pretty well resolved, thanks to big help from Dan on that issue. I don't know, I talked to the other neighbor with the damage, did he call you?
Yes, he spoke to me at length.
Yeah.
The way that it is this year, it's too hard to determine a value.
Yeah.
And the individual that we're speaking of, when I went to speak with him, there is a health issue there that is substantial. So I believe the situation is under control.
Too bad.
Long haul,
3 years.
I'm just gonna say one thing, because it might fall in here that I didn't say. The issue of all those dogs that we talked about earlier. So the town is responsible for their care when those first couple nights that they got sent to shelter. So that shelter will be sending the town a bill, because by law, we're responsible for them. Just want to make sure everyone's aware.
I still don't want
two major issues they're taken care of, so. Maintenance. Anything on maintenance?
I have a couple things, but you can speak first.
No, go ahead, Carrie, because one of them is one of the things I was
Lisa.
going to speak
No.
about. Or Lisa, Jesus.
Either one.
Aiken Plumbing came and on Wednesday, and he looked at the plumbing and heating systems, and he went up and repaired the leak at the fire station. He wanted to go to the highway garage, but they had already left. I didn't know really what time he was planning to come. So he said he would stop at some point at the highway garage. His name's Garrett Aiken.
You did a very good job.
I ordered signs for the littering problem we're having in the park. So I got the VCI signs that Harold orders his from, so I got a couple signs.
Yeah.
Good.
So they'll be coming. Robert Ferguson's here. So no bathrooms, started at about 12:30 today. And that we've
Till
notified.
Tuesday. Don't go in
Till
there.
Tuesday. No running in there.
Has he even started yet?
Yeah, it's been
Yeah,
pumped,
they
so we don't
pump.
want to fill it back up.
Okay, it's already pumped. Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
that
He
took a
doesn't
while.
dug anything up. I can go use the bathroom.
No, they pumped, so
Okay.
we need it empty. So that's all good. What are the sides? And Matt Nunn is going to come, I think on Sunday, and touch up the floor where Chicken Pie, high traffic, just so it won't get chipped. The reason why it's not holding up is there's just no shine to the cement. When he painted it, it's all
It's
worn
not
down.
sealed.
So, he's going to touch that up. He did paint the exterior of all the doors going around with exterior gray paint, so that looks really good. And he's looking at the gazebo in the park, that down around the bottom is all black, and some needs to be painted. He's just gonna give us an estimate for budgets if, we want it painted again, or the park benches that need to be.
I think he said too, we might be able to take some of the wood chips and put it around the gazebo, because it's the water falling off,
Dripping.
splashing.
Yeah, it's making it drip. So that's all good. And then you wanted to talk about the cement, so.
Yeah, so I noticed Saturday that the back entrance to the exit to the gym, that concrete ramp is pretty chipped up. It's a trip hazard for anybody that walks out there. it looked like somebody filled some sand in to try to make sure that it was not a big issue, but, I mean, the traffic from Chicken Pie, it really needs to be fixed, so I know Carrie talked to somebody about tearing that out and putting a new one in. So.
Yeah, Frank Page came, he's gonna give us an estimate, just so we have it.
It won't have to be a ramp, because we have the handicap ramp.
In the
Here,
front.
yeah.
Right.
Now it can just be a step
Stair,
down.
so we just need to chip it up and
Yeah.
probably put stairs
Should put granite
The
steps.
hydraulic hammer.
Is there any plans to seal the cement floor?
With paint.
there. Yeah.
It holds up pretty well when you're dragging these chairs and tables
Tables
around.
all over.
It just, I don't know if it was just
Over there.
the wet, maybe the water on the floor and then under their feet.
Yeah, I think, yeah, it's part of it. You don't seal it, you get water on it, even if you paint over the ceiling, it's gonna do that every time.
Yeah.
So it might be something.
Maybe we
to
do get
consider.
a rug and let it get wet and whatever, but at least it might protect the floor.
Yeah, you want something with some, I mean, you can get just like floor mats by the front, by the entrance. If you get something like that put down, you can pick it up after it's wet, let it dry out.
Yeah. And I have a favor, and it's kind of maintenance, this breaker down here that runs this dehumidifier, I think it blew at Chicken Pie Supper, and now we can't figure out what breaker it is. The outlet doesn't work. Didn't know if, Aaron, do you know?
We can take a look at it before we leave tonight.
We tried,
It
but we
looked like
don't.
all the breakers were on, maybe,
But-
but.
Yeah.
So that doesn't work, so we've been running extension cords, and it's just not, we can't have VLCT come on that day. So, and the other thing is, we have 2 road metal closure signs up by the recycling bin and 2 in the ramp.
No, I brought those 2 down.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay, 2 in the ramp. If somebody could bring them, put them in that closet for me, that
Over
would be,
here.
yeah, that would be great.
Yeah,
That's it.
anything from Gary on IT? Anything?
No,
Planning Commission,
We have a meeting on October 19th, talking about the subdivision. and-
Yeah, we're doing subdivision, we're working with NVDA now to redo some of the zoning, get some penalty clauses in, make it, there's a lot of clauses in there that need to be made more clear. And we were told by the person that actually wrote the 2012 zoning, that it was purposely made vague. So we need to clean it up, we're gonna clean it up and get it squared away.
purpose of big gray areas, huh?
Yes,
So Dan can enforce at his discretion.
no. No.
Or big loopholes.
Carrie, you still sitting on the planning commission?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought
No,
that
thank
you were.
you.
Yeah, I thought you were. But then I thought you said we were meeting.
I said, they.
Oh, okay. That's right. I thought you
I
were.
haven't seen her at one meeting.
NEK, CUD,
I
anything?
haven't heard anything from Mike, unless you have.
Heard anything.
Open to the public and other business. Anything that's not on the agenda that's,
I got 2 things. The first one, I am going to be getting more involved with community club and chicken pie supper planning. I felt like the chicken pie supper that happened on Saturday was a little bit of a cluster, including a vehicle that blocked the entrance to the fire station when there was a call, which was a pretty, it was just a freak accident the way the guy, anyway, happenstance that it was a bad situation that shouldn't have happened. And so that's one thing I'm gonna get more involved to make sure, and I was just gonna, the other thing I wanted to ask is, Wade, as the chief of the fire department, would be just seeing how we can get the fire department more engaged and involved with planning that event to make sure that that doesn't happen in the future. I think that would be really important to make sure that we're taking those precautions in place first and then avoiding the situation in the first place.
Practice then down
it's always been problems. I mean, it's ongoing. It's just, some years we don't have any problems, but then we have other years that
But I think this year, one of the big things was, they sold less tickets, they sold more takeouts. And they had a lot of people that bought sit-in tickets that then wanted to take out because of the whole high school thing, so it caused a whole cluster, screwed up their system, and
Of course, you had longer line of cars, and you did people all the way down to the road.
well, in the car, people were a lot of people, local people were actually parking and standing in line. The cars that you saw were mostly people that pulled up at the last minute and were trying to see if they could get a meal, and, I mean, the car that was blocking the fire station was a guy from New York that sat out there for 2 hours waiting on food, so anyway, that's gonna be, some of that's gonna be rectified. I think both Mary and Peter recognize that that's not a good situation, so.
They got it once, I had to address a couple of state trooper investigators, they were parked right in front of the fire station. And guy come out and had all the badges, and I said, what's up? Oh, we have a conference call. I said, move it. Well, we're having a call, I don't care, move it.
Tell them the Wi-Fi router.
Wi-Fi's right there. I said,
Yeah,
just turn it out there. Okay, no problem, okay, just move it.
So anyway, I think that part of the, I mean, the long-term plan with the parking is gonna fix, I think, a lot of things that
Yeah,
happen.
well, yeah, I'm gonna say, until we get a place where we can get vehicles manipulated into a different area or space to park, that's what I think is going to be.
Wouldn't it be better to have a plan to traffic management for that particular day?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's something I'm gonna talk with Jim about, getting more involved with, is between him and, him and any contact he might have that can help with that. And then I think the other part of it is, the parking up here is generally people that are helping with the supper, not people attending, but clearing a lot of this parking out so that we've got the fire lanes clear. So if there is a line of people waiting to come into the building or get takeouts, that it's blocked off. So anyway, that's one thing.
The parking area usually have designated up here for the day, isn't that where they use where they could park up there?
Yes.
Yeah, it's there.
That was all there.
My truck was over there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say,
That's
was
usually
that
full.
filled up, why we had such an overflow?
The overflow here was, I mean,
Take 'em.
was really the takeout people. So that was one part of it. But I think limiting the parking and making everybody park. I think the other thing there is just safety in general around, parking and traffic and a lot of things. So there's a few things that I'm gonna bring to the community club as requests for the future events, so that we're being a little bit safer and stuff. So
We'll see what because usually, I guess Dorothy, you and Wayne and Henry all were here, well, of course Henry was here for a while.
Henry was here, Henry and I, Henry wanted to,
Yeah. So
thought it was important to have somebody in the building,
Yeah.
to have the fast squad.
Yeah.
And then we had a call and opened the door and there's a car parked there.
Yeah, that's what Henry was telling me.
And
It's a big truck.
elderly lady with it, and I said,
well,
can you
but
move it? And, oh, no, I don't have a key. And somebody else ran over to move it, but there was no key. They had to get the person from inside.
yeah.
So,
Happened to happen at the exact minute that guy walked in to go to the bathroom, and he took his keys with him for whatever reason. Didn't make any sense to me, but anyway. The circumstance itself is one thing. I think it's preventing it from that circumstance happening in the future is the key. So I'm gonna address that with the community club for sure.
Yeah, just kind of, when it comes out, I'll try to be more diligent, try to maybe help personnel down here.
Well, I'm just thinking, even if we just get some cones out and block it off and say this needs to be kept clear, and you take all that parking that's over on the end, and we just say, hey, you can't park here at all.
Well, it'd be nice to-
But you gotta have handicap parking.
Well, this parking over on this side would be for handicap stuff, but we should have all these spots open for handicap parking for chicken pie supper.
Right.
Not because of the way it is, there's a lot of people parking up there that are just here helping out. Anyway, that was the first thing. The second thing that was brought to me by some concerned citizens was that the select board meeting agendas used to be hung up at the Upper Valley Grill and General Store, and are no longer being hung up there. And so it was brought to my attention, so I figured I'd bring the question forward as to whether that's something we can do, or what.
Well, what happened was basically, the owner of Upper Valley Grill had told the select board member, that he had to leave the, agenda outside of the ice box and he would retrieve it. So, the select board member decided, well, if you're gonna do it that way, find another place to post it.
It's still legal posting it in 3 spots,
Yeah.
so we're doing what the statute says.
So, unless the owner of the Apple Valley Grill comes with an apology, I don't see it happening.
It's on the website, it could be printed and hung.
And
Yeah,
hung.
I know.
I don't know.
No.
You did your part, Zach. You brought it to them.
No, you didn't.
It was not the owner operator of the store that came to me. It was a couple other people in the store while I was getting my coffee before work
Yeah.
one day. Because that's how.
Well, I mean, as I say, that, that's part of the reason, if we can't, if we can just, select board members, all they're able to do is to drop it in an ice box, can't walk in the door in a public venue, public vendor. If he had to go in to buy a coffee, he's able to walk in there, but he can't walk in with a piece of paper to post it, something's wrong. So, that's a slap in the face, not only to the select board, but the select board member represents the town of Groton, so you're doing it to the town of Groton as well, so. But that's the reality.
That's the answer there, Zach.
Anyways, that's all I have. Anything else? Okay, time to set agenda for the next select board meeting, October 21st. We're going to be wanting to further discuss the project going forward with the kind of get communication with the community or with the group about the memory wall or.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should keep that project on the agenda, and I think we should probably try to reach out to some folks that are involved with, or were involved with that, and anybody who may have donated to that. I think it would be good to get them, invite them maybe to the next select board
We don't
meeting.
have a list, Peter never gave it to us, so we're gonna have to ask Peter.
Yeah, I can ask Peter.
Like, walk up
Wait,
and
just look at the
read
names.
those.
Some of the names on the
All the names are on the stone.
Yeah.
Just-
Yeah, well, but I don't, who knows what name they put on there for, they could have put a loved one's name on there who passed away, and that's who it was in memory of, and Peter probably has that list.
No, I don't really like it.
All right, anything else on that agenda? We're going down through. You got anything on highway coming up?
The thing I can think of is we're gonna have to decide where the money's gonna come for that blower. I'm hoping to get an answer next week. I'd like to move on that soon, so I don't have to stand out in the road with my whacker blower blowing off the road so it doesn't grade it anymore.
Or just equipment reserve.
I think just take it out of my maintenance budget. Way under on that, so.
Yeah, anything, town clerk in, coming up? Would you say anything? No.
Why did the audit cemetery clean?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. I can't remember now.
Audit, the cleaning of the cemetery, I mean, no. See that just the way it was coming out?
Or I don't want it mixed up.
Yeah. All right, other than that, I don't see anything else. I'm looking for,
Make a motion to close the meeting?
okay, a second on that.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Say aye. All those opposed, same sign.